EHAS Club presents Stories to Create podcast, where the tale of our guest takes you back, way back to where the story first got created. Now, to help create this new story, here is your host, Cornell Bunting.
Yes. Welcome to another episode of Stories to Create podcast right here at ES Club. I'm your host, Cornell Bunting. Today, I'm telling you people, we've been waiting, and he's so busy, we haven't got him in the studio. But when I tell you people, a chef that some would say and self-made, we don't want to put the million on it yet because we don't want him to say we hampered him up too much, but he's doing so much, people, a philanthropist, an entrepreneur that have figured it out, that have came out, some would say confinement, and came back into the world and made major moves, people. Moves where people that have been in confinement, jail, prison, whatever you want to name it, came out and didn't figure it out. He came out, figured it out, used his hands, and did some serious damage, people. Listen, without further ado, help me welcome Chef Richard Smith. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. That was an incredible introduction. That was incredible, man.
Listen, man, bro, you're incredible, man.
I'm almost there. I'm nothing without God, though, man. I'm telling you now.
Hey, I love that. We got to drop the big man in there.
Yeah.
If we gonna keep it a buck, we got to drop the big man in there.
Wouldn't be here without him.
Man, listen. So what we want to do with our guests, man? We want to take our guests back to the early years before Chef Joe, before the big man Richard Smith that people know.
Yeah.
Take us back to the
gangster.
Well, let's go back to the kids' years.
Yeah, I was gangster then too. My first time getting arrested, man, I was 11 years old.
What?
I was 11 years old.
Wow.
That was my first time getting arrested.
Oh man.
I was just a knucklehead, man.
Oh man.
My mother raised me right. My mother and my father.
Yeah.
They raised me right. I just went against, what they wanted, from us. I come from a time where you got your head bashed in when you did something wrong.
Right.
And it wasn't no secret, man.
Right.
But, my mother, she tried her best, man. But I was just determined, man, to do what I felt like doing.
Where was home? Where was
Fort
it?
Myers.
It was here in Fort Myers.
Right down the street. I grew up in the projects.
Okay.
And my mother and father.
In the Dunbar community?
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
Right next to the Stars Complex.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mother and father had three different apartments in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
As the family grew,
right,
we had to get bigger places.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, my back porch, my backyard at one point was basically the Stars Complex and the baseball field and stuff like that.
Okay. Wow.
But yeah, that's where I grew up, man.
Yeah, you grew up in the good projects.
The good project. It was. It was.
Because it's in your early years, that's when you guys are coming off the, some don't necessarily want us to touch on it too much, but the whole thing with the railroad and crossing over and all that.
No.
You was already done with that.
Yeah,
that was done with.
I'm the first generation, or our generation, the kids born in the 70s,
right? At
least here,
right?
First generation of getting on a bus and going to a white school, and it just there was never I'd never experienced any type of hate or racism, at Orangewood, at Fort Myers Middle, Riverdale, Fort Myers High. I've never experienced that.
That's beautiful.
But I've always went to school with white kids and everything.
Yeah. Wow.
And my parents bought a house in 1989.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I've ever had white neighbors.
Okay.
And it wasn't even strange. It was just like, I know I'm in a better part of town.
Right.
And I know this is where white people stay at.
Yeah.
So I had white neighbors, man. And they were good people, man.
Yeah.
Really good people.
Yeah.
To be totally honest with you, I got in more trouble after my parents left the projects.
Wow, than when you were in the project.
Because in the projects, it's a village.
Right.
You do something wrong, and one of those older ladies or gentlemen sees you.
They're gonna reprimand you.
They're going to reprimand you. Then they're going to tell your parents, and then your parents going to
Oh
reprimand you.
man, they got double whammy.
Yeah, so you literally, to get away with anything in the projects, you had to be cunning. You had to be smooth.
Yeah.
Man, because all the eyes were
Right
watching,
on.
man.
Yeah.
They was watching, man.
Oh man. What kind of kid were you in school? Like,
I was always a smart kid. Just a lazy kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I was just lazy, man.
Yeah. You didn't care to do much with sports, none of that stuff.
Not even that, man. I didn't even want to do that.
Wow.
You know what? I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be told what to do.
Okay.
I was just real rebellious.
Yeah.
You know.
Hanging out.
Yeah, man.
Oh man.
That was a time there was a time in middle school.
Yeah.
I think I probably missed about a month of school.
A whole month.
A whole month. Because I could either walk to school from the projects to Fort Myers Middle or catch the bus. So seeing us walk to school was not a big deal. You know, some of us did that.
Right.
I would walk right past school, go to the mall. They used to have a little arcade stuff in there.
Oh, you go play the games?
I used to go bowling, the little bowling alley over there by the mall.
Okay.
I used to do all that, man.
Man.
I was out of my mind.
You out of control.
I was out of my mind, man. And back then, your parents didn't know nothing.
Right.
Wow. Parents didn't know nothing back then.
Man, imagine you going to school and you just made an executive decision and pass school and say, you know what, school ain't that.
That was every day.
Wow.
For like a month. It's like, I ain't going here, man.
So when did you settle down for school? Like, was it middle school or high school?
I never did. I never did. Listen.
Yeah.
I made straight F's through middle school with the exception of one semester, and it was my 8th grade semester.
Yeah.
I said, for whatever reason, I'm going to go ahead and try.
Yeah.
And I tried, halfway tried, and I wound up with all C's.
Wow.
And and after that, I was like, man, that was too much energy. I was like, hey, it's too much.
That took too much to do all that.
It's too much. And here's a crazy story.
Yeah.
I made straight F's through middle school with the exception of that one semester.
Yeah.
My parents bought a house in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
This was supposed to be my freshman year in high school.
Right.
So we're completely out of this school area.
Right.
We go from the projects to East Fort Myers.
Okay.
Okay. We stayed right off of Palm Beach Boulevard. Back then, now it's a lot of Mexicans and stuff live there now.
Right.
But back then it was a lower middle class white community.
Okay.
Sprinkled in some black folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm totally away from anything over here on this side of Fort Myers.
Right.
And they said that they found out that I wasn't coming back to Fort Myers Middle.
Okay.
And they say, hey, you didn't pass. You got to go back to 8th grade.
What? Oh.
I made F's throughout the whole.
Right, yeah.
Now this year when they know I'm not coming back, I was that much of a hellraiser.
Oh wow.
So this year when they find out I'm not coming back, and I moved out,
yeah,
you got to stay back now.
You got to stay back. Wow.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Where James Stevenson is.
Right.
That used to be called. It was a middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember the name of it. At the time, but it was a middle school.
Yeah.
And it was literally a 5-minute walk from where my parents bought a house at.
Right.
They contacted these people saying, hey, these are the new kids coming, and they had my name on it. Okay. The assistant principal of that school saw my name and called my mother.
No.
And she was a female.
Yeah.
She said, hi, I'm Mrs. So-and-so. I'm the assistant principal here at, the middle school. She said, I saw your son, Richard Smith, was held back, and he's going to have to repeat the 8th grade.
Oh, man.
I had your son in the 6th grade, and I can tell you this, he ain't coming here. She was one of my teachers in the 6th grade.
She was.
She said, he ain't coming here.
Wow.
So my suggestion is we're going to work out a deal here.
Yeah.
Send him to summer school. Now, this ain't my first time going to summer school.
Right.
And I always did great in summer school.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe because it was like a half a day.
Right.
It wasn't really formal or something, but I always did great in summer. I made A's in summer school.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was like, here's the deal.
Yeah.
You send him to summer school, and he ain't even really got a pass. He can't come here. He can't come here.
Wow.
And my mother hung that phone up.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. When my mother gets disgusted, man, she can be very abrasive with her words.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, I can't believe this. That's a damn shame. These people don't even want you in their school.
Oh,
it's
man.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
I was just that, and I never settled down. By the time I was in high school, I went through my first year, I went through Riverdale.
Yeah.
And whatever. I don't even remember, that next year I got kicked out of high school my 10th grade year.
Okay.
Kicked out of high school and then something to ALC.
Okay.
I'm beating people up in school and doing all just,
So ALC, that's an
Alternative Learning Center. They used to be in portables.
Okay.
Back in the days.
Yeah.
This was 80, 89, 90.
Yeah.
And so by the time, I didn't even finish the 10th grade.
Right.
I was, arrested and hauled off and,
So 10th grade was the first time you got in trouble?
Not the first time, no. Remember I said I got arrested at 11 years old.
At 11 years old, that's
from 11 to 16.
Yeah.
I had probably been in the juvenile detention center probably 6 or 7 times.
Man.
I don't know, man. Probably more than that.
Wow. You was making your mom really upset, huh?
Yeah, man. It was, and I don't know, man. It was just, it just seemed natural to me at the time.
Yeah, you were just,
it just seemed
hanging
natural,
out.
Man. And my mother, she's a college graduate. Worked with the state all those years. My pop's hard worker.
Yeah.
He was a dad's dad. He was. He wasn't like the dad that I am. Like I take my kids to football games, throw the ball. My dad wasn't doing none of that.
Yeah, I did none of that.
I work.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Go out and have some fun on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
My dad drank, gambled, smoked cigarettes, had other women on the side and other babies on the side. He was that type of guy.
He was that dude. Wow.
He was that type of guy.
Wow. So you got in the system. So now you're in that pipeline system. You haven't really know what you want to do or whatever. Like you're in that unsure realm where you just having fun. You doing what you know.
Doing as the day goes by, man.
When did something click and just put you in a space where you knew you needed a change?
So I think my 13th year in prison.
Wow.
I did 16 off of 2 bids.
Okay.
And that second bid, it was a 10-year mandatory bid. And year 7 is when things started to kind of slow down for me. I was about 30, 29, 30 years old.
Yeah.
And I met this guy. I didn't meet him.
Yeah.
I went to the rec yard and he was standing under the pavilion. He was preaching.
Yeah.
He had his Bible in his hand. He was preaching. And I'm just standing there watching this dude. I'm just standing at the open way of the pavilion. The pavilion on the prison yard, the pavilion is where, the rec office is. That's where the bathrooms are, and that's where they'll usually have a TV.
Right.
Where you can watch TV and little benches, and it's covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting at the open of it, and he stopped preaching, and he looked at me, and he stopped. He looked at me. He said, Spirit of God said, one day you're gonna preach the word of God.
Whoa.
And he went right back to preaching. And I'm like,
that's it. It was.
So I just walked away.
Yeah. Wow.
He turned to me.
Yeah.
Didn't know me from any. I never met that man before, had a conversation with that man.
Right.
Or anything.
Yeah.
And so he wound up being my spiritual father.
Wow. That's awesome. So you planted a seed right then.
Yeah.
That you didn't realize what was happening.
Yeah. I think the second time the first time I had an interaction with him after that was I was in the weight shed and, I was working out, in the weight shed, and he came up to me, and he's a bigger guy.
Yeah.
And he came up to me trying to tell me how to work out.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, you don't get your big.
Yeah.
And from that on, man, from that, we would always meet up in the rec cage in the morning.
Yeah.
And it kind of became hey man, well, what's going on? Come to find out, he was a preacher on the street or whatever and did some crazy stuff and got put up in prison. I never judged him or anything.
Right.
Because I understand, like most people should.
Right.
All the powerful men that God used in the Bible were horrible human beings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Murderers.
Yep.
Adulterers.
Most definitely.
Thieves. And,
yeah.
And he used the worst.
Yeah.
To do some amazing things. So I don't judge him because he was a preacher outside and did some things and got himself locked back up.
Right.
It's a lot of stuff we got to deal with.
Yeah. Wow. What is one day you can remember in the rec yard that was a crazy day, man? You're like, yo.
Dude, I can go on for days.
It's a lot of days.
It's a lot of days on that rec yard. So I can remember one of the sergeants, you know what? And, I'm going to say it because that's what I was feeling at the time. And I was even, I was even a man of God at the time. I was like a young Christian at the time. I was a babe is what they call it.
Yeah.
And I should not have thought that way.
Right.
But there was this sergeant and, he had a Napoleon complex. He was short, balding.
Yeah.
Was in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And he thought he could beat every inmate on the yard. He
wow.
really thought
he was that kind of dude.
Yeah. Yeah. He really thought that.
Yeah.
And one day it happened, man. Boy, they poked holes in him.
Oh man.
They poked holes in him and I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
And I was like, good for you.
Yeah.
A time before that, I remember, we was on the rec yard and it just got uncomfortably silent.
Oh.
And I'm like, why is it so quiet?
Yeah.
So I'm looking around.
Yeah, you look. Yeah.
My spidey senses are tingling.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Is it so quiet right now?
Yeah.
And man, the next thing you know, they had them shipped a whole bunch of dudes down from Union, which is they call that Rayford.
Yeah.
That's where the electric chair is or whatever they do now. I don't know if they do electric chairs anymore.
Right.
But they sent these dudes down from there because they was closing the prison and turning it into an old man prison.
Okay.
So all the other dudes that had been there for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, they got comfortable.
Okay.
They brought them to the camp I was at. I was up in Washington.
Yeah.
Up in Chipley, Florida.
Chipley.
Yeah. And it got quiet, man. And these guys were because when they got there, these guys was carrying so much property.
Ooh.
And those guys were stripped of everything. A lot of those guys just walked out with like little bags like this of property, man. And they took everything from them guys. And these were convicts. These dudes were
solid convicts.
These dudes were man, they got hold of them people, man. And I can remember seeing Sergeant Steele. I still know his name. Good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy, man. Just because you're a correctional officer don't make, you ain't got to be nasty. There are a lot of nasty ones.
Yeah.
And his name's Sergeant Steele. And he was trying to clear the yard because all the mayhem done went off. And this dude was running.
Yeah.
And he had the bat. Had the bat, the aluminum bat.
Yeah.
And the officers were screaming at him, Sergeant Steele, turn around. They're on their walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
Sergeant Steele, watch out.
Oh, man.
And he's running and he's swinging that bat. And, man, that dude got up on, he was a little old dude. He was one of them, he was a homosexual guy.
Yeah.
Little old guy, man, skinny and little as all I does. And, man, as soon as he turned around,
Steele.
that bat, bow,
right
in his head. He had to get a steel plate placed in the front of his head, man.
Wow.
They was making inmates carry officers off the field on the MASH carts like they used to do in the war. Put them on them stretchers. And one person get behind it.
Right.
And they asked me to do that.
Oh man.
That's what I'm not finna do.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
They ain't doing that.
They got rid of me.
Oh man.
They got rid of a lot of people after that.
Yeah.
They got rid of me. I'm not carrying one of you.
Yeah.
I don't care if this is my mentality at the time.
Yeah.
I don't care if you die.
Yeah.
I'm not carrying one of y'all to the infirmary.
Right.
I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
So they got mad, man. They shipped a whole bunch of us from out of there, man. And I landed up at freaking Century, which is up in Escambia County.
Okay.
Over by Pensacola.
Okay. Up in the coal area.
Basically. Well, it was cold in Chipley.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they shipped me to, that was basically southern Alabama, man. That was the worst place, one of the worst places I've ever been to.
Right. So you spent another 2-3 years over there? And
No, I got out of Century.
Okay, that's when you were done.
Listen. I got out of Century. I wasn't staying there.
Okay.
I had a roommate from Miami. He was cool.
Yeah.
And I say, I'm going to fake like I'm hanging myself.
Oh no.
And my roommate say, don't do it. He said, because they had a Haitian psychiatrist there.
Right.
His name was Dr. Zuzu.
Dr. Zuzu.
Dr. Zuzu.
Yeah.
And he was a specialist at not allowing people to play the crazy card to get away from Century.
Oh wow.
That's how many times people try to play the crazy card to get away from Century.
So
that's how bad it is up there.
He was good then.
You know what made Century so bad?
Yeah.
It was the abuse, but it was all black people that was doing it.
Oh man.
It was all black people.
That's crazy.
All black people.
Wow.
It was like being in prison in Atlanta.
Yeah. Wow.
It was sprinkled with the white people.
Right.
But the black people ran it. And they treat you worse than the white officers.
That's crazy.
So that was the thing, man, and people wanted to get away from there. The difference between me and them was I had been at Washington. Washington was a psych camp.
Okay.
Washington was a psych camp.
Okay. Yeah.
I know how to act crazy.
Yeah.
I was at Washington for like 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So I know how to act crazy.
Yeah.
I know how to act crazy.
Yeah.
And, man, I put the thing around my neck. My room was upstairs.
Yeah.
So it was banging on the door. Hey, you trying to hang yourself?
Yeah.
I got the thing around, but it was so funny.
Yeah.
Man, don't you know, man, the people came in there, and instead of, which I don't need no saving, I'm just pretending to hang myself.
Right.
You know, people sprayed me with mace instead of helping me. People sprayed me with mace. Man, I could have fell down and really hung myself, man. Yeah. Oh, people sprayed me with mace instead of helping me, man. That's how nasty that prison was. Yeah. Man. Wow. And so I got off into the psych ward, and Dr. Zuzu, man, he was a trip, man.
Yeah.
So you say you are hearing voices, but you've never heard voices before. Why is this now? And I'm like, he got my chart in his hand.
Yeah.
You never take no medication. Nothing.
Yeah.
Tell me why now.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk. So what I did was they had me in a little psych cell. I went on a hunger strike.
Okay.
And I said, I'm not eating until y'all get me out of here.
Yeah. Wow.
And Dr. Zuzu wasn't having it. So then one day I started having cramps.
Mm-hmm.
And the nurses was like, oh, he's dehydrated.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't eaten. They was like, he hasn't eaten. So when the medical doctor came, when the medical doctor came,
Yeah.
he was like, how is he able to get to this point?
Yeah.
Dr. Zuzu said,
oh man,
he took the power from Zuzu and said, don't come back over here no more.
Wow.
So he said, and this is the white doctor, white medical doctor.
Yeah.
He comes over and says, hey man, you ain't got to worry about dealing with Zuzu. What's the problem? Why aren't you eating? What's going on? So I told him, I said, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna starve myself.
Yeah.
Until I either croak in here or y'all send me away. And if y'all want me to die in here, then y'all got to answer that.
Wow.
So he understood.
Yeah.
This ain't good.
Yeah.
This dude dead serious. It hadn't been like 8-9 days.
Oh man, you was skinny by that time, huh?
I was skinny anyway back then. Man. So I got the hiccup out of there, man. He made me a promise.
Yeah.
He got me out of there. Man, he took me right out the skillet and put me right in the fire, man. I wound up at Butler. I wound up at Lake Butler, man. And that psych cell, they kept me in that psych cell for like a month, man.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrible. And then when they let me out, they put me on K-Wing. Yeah. And K-Wing was the old confinement where dudes used to get their teeth knocked out. Yeah. And killed. Yeah. And so they had me, I'm in open population, but they put me in K-Wing. K-Wing ain't got no TVs. They ain't even let us shower number 3 times a week. Wow. We open population. Yeah. And them people up there something else, man.
That's crazy, bro. You went through it, man.
Yeah, man.
You went through it.
I got a lot of stuff.
What did you do the first day you finally got out of prison? You done with prison. You free now. This is it.
I went to visit my first day. I called my former girlfriend because I had to get it in. Yeah. And I went over to her house. Okay. And then a couple of days later, I went over to Palm Beach. I met a dude when I was in South Bay. Yeah. I met a dude from Palm Beach. His brothers owned a window and door and a cabinetry company. Okay. And he was going to go and, run the company with them. And he told me I had a job.
Beautiful.
So I moved to Jupiter. Okay. And I stayed with him. Yeah. We had a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom duplex. Yeah. And I started working for his brother's companies and stuff like that. And it was decent, man. I was basically on my own, trying to figure everything out on my own. Right. I had a partner that I rode with. Yeah. We called him Mike Jones. Yeah. But good dude. This dude actually took me to the flea market on 45th. Yeah. And bought me some clothes.
Beautiful.
Okay. And that lasted for like 2 months. Yeah. And then I pushed it back home. Then I started staying with my brother. Okay. And my brother, man, I was going through it, man. I couldn't find a good job over here. Everybody was turning me down. Right. And he told me, my brother was like, listen, you don't got to pay me nothing. Yeah. Get a job, get a car. He says, once you get a car, then you can start paying me rent. Okay. Okay. And man, it was hard, boy. Yeah. It was hard. And I finally got on. Yeah. I was at the work center over here, and then I saw a guy, he had a chef jacket on and a hat. And he said, you here for me? Yeah. I said, yeah, here for you. Everybody had to turn me down. Yeah. Everybody. Yeah. And he introduced himself, and, he said he was the executive chef of Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Okay. I didn't know what the hell a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse was. Right. But he looked real fancy with the little chef jacket and everything on. Yeah. And he asked me what I knew how to do. And he was like, do you know how to cook? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah. He's like, where'd you cook at? Yeah. I said, Pizza Hut. Yeah. I ain't telling him in the prison. Right. I said, I done learned my lesson now. I'm finna stop telling these people I done been to prison. Right, I'm trying to be all truthful and holy. Yeah. I need to be a little deceptive. Right. And so I didn't tell him that. Yeah. And so he was like, Pizza Hut? Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
But I know how to cook.
Right.
And he said, I tell you what, he said, you ever serve? You ever serve tables?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. He said, where'd you serve it? I said, Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
So he said, he's looking at his paper. He said, man, I don't even have no openings for a server.
Right.
He says, I got openings for an essay. And I say, I'm thinking you're doing like a Mexican essay.
Yeah.
Like I said, essay.
Yeah.
He said, yeah. He said, that's the server assistant.
Okay.
I said, oh, you said S.A. I said, yeah, S.A.
Yeah.
I said, and what do they do?
Yeah.
He said, really, they just bussers.
Oh, okay.
I said, listen, I'm 32 years old.
Yeah.
I don't want to be no busser, man. What you talking about?
Yeah.
He said, no, it's you know, you can work your way up to being a server. Now, I have no idea what I'm in for.
Right.
I've never been to a high-end restaurant in my life. I'm just coming home.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't even been 6 months.
Right.
I got out in August. This is November.
Okay.
No, this is October.
Okay.
And so I said, okay.
Yeah.
And reluctantly, I never answered the phone every time they called because they was just opening the store. So they was doing a lot of stuff at a hotel in like the areas they have, the little, like if you could do a wedding at a hotel, they got the little rooms or whatever, banquet rooms.
Banquets, yeah.
So they had everybody meeting at the banquet rooms and stuff. Okay. And they would call me telling me when to be there, and I never went.
No.
And I don't know why. Right. I don't know why. And I'm just going back and forth to the work center every single day.
Right.
Not getting anything.
Yeah.
And then finally I'm sitting there at the work center in front of this computer.
Yeah.
My phone rings again.
Yeah.
And it's the lady again.
Yeah.
Hey, just to let you know, we'll be at the restaurant on such and such date.
Right.
We're all done at the hotel, so we'll be meeting at the restaurant and, you know, going over training, getting everything ready for training.
Right.
And it hit me. And I said, man, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So I went into research mode.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, you know, the internet wasn't as, you know, it's 2006. You couldn't get on your phone and, you know, get a lot of stuff. So it's still basically word of mouth stuff. And I'm asking people, what is a Roost Chris and what is a Coconut Point Mall?
Yeah.
Where's Coconut Point Mall? How do you get to Coconut Point Mall?
Right.
So I found out it's down 41, but don't nobody really know where it's at.
Right.
And I got my little passes for the bus and everything. So I think I got it.
Yeah.
I get on the bus. The bus takes me all the way to San Carlos.
Yeah.
Drops me off. I say, where's the next? What time does the next bus come to go? Oh no, this is as far as we go.
Wow, the bus don't even go down.
It didn't even go down. Not at that time.
Oh man,
this was brand new. Coconut Point was brand new.
Okay.
I had to walk.
Wow.
From San Carlos Park.
Yeah.
All the way to Coconut Point Mall.
Oh man, that's a good stretch right there.
It was hot, man.
Oh man.
And it took me a minute to get there.
Yeah.
But when I got there, I'd never seen anything so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so immaculate.
Yeah.
And I fell in love.
That's beautiful.
I fell in love with this place, man.
Yeah.
And so the next day I came home that night. I walked halfway home.
Yeah.
And the girl I was messing with at the time, she came and picked me up halfway. And I went to my boy. I said, man, I need a whip.
Yeah.
So he said, I got a whip in storage. So he went to storage and got the whip. I drove the whip to the bus stop, got on the bus, put the whip on the front of the bus. When the bus dropped me off at San Carlos, got on the whip.
You right down there.
Whipped it down there.
Yeah.
Then I met a Haitian lady and her daughter. And she befriended me. She lived right around the corner from my brother.
Yeah.
And she said, you need a ride? We can, we'll come pick you up and, drop you off.
Yeah.
And that was within 6 months of being an essay, I was a full-blown server.
Beautiful.
And I'm not even a year out of prison yet.
Right.
And I'm making all this money as a server.
Good.
For Roost Chris.
Yeah.
And this is 07.
Yeah.
I was making in the season, I was making about anywhere from $1,100 to $1,500 a week.
That's beautiful. And
$600 to $700 a week in the off season.
Yeah.
And I brought a house,
Yeah.
2 cars
Yeah.
within 3 years.
That's amazing. That's amazing, man. So you kind of back in society now. You're functioning. You've figured out a few things.
Yeah.
Things is going. Server is doing what it's doing.
Yep.
But you're like, okay, that's something bigger going on here.
No, actually, it wasn't that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, everything was going great, and then the recession hit.
The recession hit.
Recession hit, man.
Wow. Pandemic.
No, the recession.
Oh, the recession.
Recession.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
When that hit, that devastated me.
Yeah.
I got a new house.
Yeah.
I got 2 new kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my 2 boys are 30 days apart.
Wow.
I got 2 cars in the garage.
Yeah.
You go to work. You know, we work for Ruth's Chris, so they offered us stocks.
Okay.
And at the time, you know, they were $24, $25, $26 a share.
Mm-hmm.
You go to work, and those are down to $3 and $4 a share.
Wow. Yeah.
The whole home office was decimated to about 4 people.
Man.
They all was given serving packages and everything. So I lost my house.
Yeah.
And we had to move.
Right.
And I was determined.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Right.
And I opened up my first restaurant.
Okay.
I opened up a little place called Big Dro's Chicken and Waffles.
Okay.
Because I thought I knew what I was doing.
Right.
And it was a disaster.
Oh.
And I'm just talking administratively.
Right.
The food was popping.
Yeah.
You know, I just didn't do a lot of things right, man.
Right.
I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So during that process, I lost one of my cars.
Oh, man.
The SUV.
Yeah.
Came and repossessed it right out in the parking lot.
Man.
So now I lost the house.
Yeah.
I done lost a car. And now I'm losing my business.
Right.
I went and started selling cars.
Okay.
Because that was the only thing popping at the time. I don't know if you remember, you know, Obama was doing a lot for the car industry.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of people were buying cars. And I became successful at that.
Okay.
And I stayed in that for about a year.
Yeah.
And then I went back into a good friend of mine called me and asked me for my help opening up a restaurant. And I went back into the workforce.
Right.
And I was determined to learn as much as I could about the restaurant business.
Right.
I had the food part locked.
Yeah.
I needed to learn about the business.
Right.
I needed to become a chef.
Yeah.
Just because you know how to cook don't mean you're a chef.
Yeah, don't mean you're a chef. Yeah.
A chef is an administrator.
Right.
And I needed to learn how to be a chef.
Yeah.
And so through, you know, going through, I became, you know, a manager, assistant manager, front of the house manager. You know, I was grabbing because I wanted to be the general manager of a restaurant, and that was just something that I wanted to achieve. And it finally broke through for me, man. I became a general manager, and I managed quite a few restaurants.
Beautiful.
But in the process, I learned a lot about the business.
That's beautiful.
And I had a lot of chefs that worked with me that I learned from as well. You know, sometimes I would come into work and just get on the line.
Yeah.
Learn how to do this.
Yeah.
You know, he would, you know, some of the chefs would let me order the stuff for them. That's how I learned how to do ordering. We would come in as the general manager. You're responsible for all of the inventory. So now it's me, the chef, doing the inventory.
Yeah.
Me and the front of the house manager doing the bar inventory. So you're learning a lot.
Right.
You know, I didn't have to go to school to do that. I did it
right there
at the ground level.
Yeah.
Learning, you know, my cost. Learning, you know, waste, labor, inventory, ordering. You know, all of this stuff is what cultivates you into being what is known as a chef.
Right. I like that. So you have now structured a chef drawer that you didn't know was structured. Yeah. What kicked you to where you stepped into that where you like Chef Dro is gonna do his own thing? What happened?
So, after a while, you know, I left management
Mm-hmm.
and went back into serving.
Mm-hmm.
Management was just it was a headache.
Yeah.
So I went back into serving, and I was very successful.
Yeah.
I was working on the island. Very successful.
Captive or Sanibel?
Sanibel.
Okay.
Very successful as a server.
Yeah.
I ran the place.
Yeah.
And got a phone call. Somebody said they wanted me to help them reopen their restaurant, and I would be a 50-50 partner.
Okay.
But my investment was the sweat equity.
Okay.
Money can only get you so far. You got to know how to do something.
You got to know.
Sweat equity is way more valuable than money.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Because if the money run out, then what?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So we met.
Yeah.
And, you know, everything was explained. I took over, and I became what's known as a managing partner.
Right.
And I literally brought this place back to life.
That's beautiful.
Like did it.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
And me and this guy just had two different understandings of how a restaurant should be ran.
Mm.
Now, I done got all my schoolwork in by going back into the business and learning how a restaurant should run.
Right.
So I had this place popping.
Yeah.
And it was getting to the point, you know, he would come in and my employees we had two restaurants.
Right.
His employees was his employees, my employees were my employees. He would come in and start telling them how to do stuff differently.
Okay.
But they don't have loyalty to you.
Right.
They have loyalty to me.
Right.
So they would like, who is this dude telling me to do this or do that or do this?
Right.
So we had some bickering going forth.
Okay. Yeah.
And finally I said, look, man, I don't know if I don't even want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey man, look, let's just stay on until stay on until St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
Because this restaurant was an Irish restaurant.
Okay.
So I had to learn a lot about Irish cuisine.
Right.
So the day came, this dude comes in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me, hey, you know, now I've marketed this. Everybody sees the menu, the prices, free entry, free parking, all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's marketed out. He comes in, he says, we're not doing free parking, we're not doing free entry. Change the numbers on the menu, the prices, and this is what we're doing. And that was the last straw.
Oh, wow.
Because now you're making me look stupid.
Yeah.
So that was the day I left.
Yeah.
I took my cut of the money that was promised to me.
Right.
And I parted ways.
Yeah.
And depression was on me bad. Like,
oh, man.
I felt like a loser. I felt like a failure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crap at home that wasn't going well at all.
Right.
Wasn't going well at all.
Yeah.
So I was really in a really dark place.
Yeah.
And my spiritual mother, Cheryl Glover, introduced me to who I now call my culinary father.
Yeah.
And he has an organization called Chef Culture, and it was in the beginning stages.
Yeah.
So she gave him my number, me his number, and we connected. He was doing some stuff at the church at the time, and he invited me to come in. He actually wanted me to take it over. Through, and his name is Chef Chad.
Yeah.
Through that, he also had me going around to different Winn-Dixies on Saturdays in Florida, doing live chef demos.
Beautiful.
Really uplifted me.
Yeah.
You know, this was something I look forward to.
Yeah.
So now I'm back in the workforce. I'm working as a server.
Yeah.
Again, I'm doing this on the weekends.
Right.
Some people are calling me to do events for them.
Right.
So I'm just like, you know, being like a little handyman in food.
So by then, Chef Joe is created.
Well, it got to a point where I said, I need to make this into a business. I'm tired of doing this. And what happened was I met a guy at a Winn-Dixie, and he kept walking by my thing. And so he finally said, he asked me, who do I work for? Whatever. I said, no, I don't work for Winn-Dixie. I work for myself. He asked me for my I-10 number.
Right.
I don't have one.
Right.
I ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
And that made me feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because he wanted me to be able to pair food with his wines, which is something I'm very familiar with.
Right.
And it just made me feel bad.
Yeah.
So I said, man, I got to do this. 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 But I was really busy.
Right.
And I never got anything started.
Wow.
And then out of the blue, here comes a pandemic.
Yeah.
It was the saving grace of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because it allowed me to sit down, start my business, get everything together, create a website, learn how to edit videos, start a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of different things. Those 3 or 4 months that the pandemic started was the saving grace and was basically the inception of Yes Chef Creates.
Beautiful. Wow. That unfolded, and then you just...
From that point, listen, I think from the moment I started, and this was around March of 2020, I worked so hard, so diligently to create something. And my mindset was, by the time everything opens up, this is going to be in a great place.
Yeah.
And I did my first event October 2020. And I rented out a house with the help of my sister, Stanya. We got a house in Cape Coral with a pool. We set up tables and we prepared I think it was a 5-course meal.
Wow.
The limit, because it was my first time doing it, the limit was going to be like 25 people.
Right.
It got up to 38. I sold 38 tickets.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was the first one.
Yeah.
And it was successful. Man.
That's beautiful.
And from that point, that next year, 2021 came.
Yeah.
DeSantis opened Florida all the way up. And the mother states was closed all the way down.
Yeah.
Them people flooded down here to Florida.
Yeah.
And when they didn't want to go out to eat, or when they didn't want to be around, they didn't want to put their mask on, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
They looked for somebody to come to them and cook.
Wow.
And they found me, man. I was at the top. I don't know what I did or how I did it. By the grace of God,
popping. Yeah.
it was at the top.
That's beautiful.
And even today, it's still, if you look up, private chefs near me or in Cape Coral or whatever, I will come up.
Yeah.
First, number one.
Love that.
So I made a lot of money in 2021.
Wow, man.
A lot. And then I started traveling.
Yeah.
People having me come up to their cities, to their states. So it became a good thing, man.
You became that guy, man. You became that guy. And I've seen you in action. So it's beautiful, man. For youths, because we're coming towards the close of the show right now, for youths that are just staying in trouble, just feel like there's no hope, what would you say to them as an individual that have been through all those and have walked those paths? Is it possible?
What I always say is, God ain't gonna change nobody.
Right.
You gotta want to change.
Right.
If you desire to be something better, if you desire to be something more,
right,
you can do it.
Yeah.
Because with a willingness comes opportunity.
Yes.
Because as long as you're not willing, you'll never see the opportunity.
Right. Right.
Because you're not willing.
Right.
But with willingness comes opportunity.
Yeah.
And when you make up your mind to, there's a blessed are those that do thirst after righteousness. There has to be a thirst.
Yeah. You gotta have that thirst and hunger. Yeah.
You have to want it.
Yeah. You gotta want it.
And sometimes, you may look at yourself as somebody that, didn't do right or messed up or made some mistakes. That's fine too. But you have to always know that there is a way to get you out of your situation.
Right.
If you have a willingness to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, this is all, I did a lot of lying to get myself in my position. Yeah. Sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. Yeah. As long as you know what you're doing. Yeah. You fake it till you make it, man. You're gonna get somewhere. There's no way I was supposed to be in charge of these international type restaurants. Right. I worked for a company. They got restaurants in Saudi Arabia and Ireland and all these other places, man. Wow. Yeah. I wasn't supposed to be in charge of these people's stuff, man. Right. An opening manager for Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah. These places are every doggone where. I got a whole franchise depending on me to open up all of their new restaurants.
That's awesome.
Wow. But there's a willingness. Yeah.
There's a way. I love that. Yeah. How can people find Chef Dro?
Oh, everything is Yes Chef Creates. Everything.
Yes Chef Creates.
Yeah, everything. That is that's YouTube, TikTok. I've been doing a lot of live TikToks and YouTube lately. Mm-hmm. My thing is, because I get upset, and it's probably me hating. Right. I see these guys with way more viewers than me. Right. And way more bigger numbers than me. Yeah. And I get jealous and go to hating on them. Yeah. Because I can look at stuff and be like, oh yeah, that's a camera trick. Yeah. Oh, that's editing. Yeah. That ain't hot. That can't taste good. Right. See, I can see it. Yeah. Because I cook in my head too. Right. If I want to cook something, it starts up here. Right. I don't know how it'll taste. Yeah. But it starts up here. Yeah. And it develops as I'm cooking. Right. So I can look at a video and be like, nah, that ain't how that came out. Right. And listen. Yeah. I've done I've seen a lot of different videos, and I've replicated them down to a T, and I'm like, yeah, that ain't, that's not how mine came out. Yeah. And so I go to hating on them, and I'm like, y'all, your favorite chef that be on YouTube, you don't never see them cooking live. Yeah. And so I'll take a lot of, I have about 300 videos on my YouTube channel.
That's beautiful.
And I'll take one of the videos and I'll cook it live. Yeah. On TikTok. Yeah. And on YouTube, I'll cook it live.
Wow. That's awesome.
Because I don't need editing and camera tricks.
Right. Yeah. That's beautiful, man. Listen. You took us on a journey, man. You took us on a journey, another journey, man. The stories are beautiful, man. And I know this definitely are going to reach some of my audience in a way that they're going to have questions. And hey, if we got to bring him back on the show, we going to bring him back on the show. I'm just letting you guys know right now. This was beautiful.
Yeah. And there is another part of it, we're not even talking about, visiting prisons and feeding the homeless.
Look at that right there.
Baptizing folks in the heart of Liberty City.
Oh my goodness. Listen, we giving you guys, this is a cliffhanger right here. This is a cliffhanger show. We got to bring you back. We got to bring you back to touch on the other part, the humanitarian right here, the man that's doing it out there and giving back and helping. Again, people, I'm telling you, I've seen this man in action and real deal. So really go out, check out Yes Chef Creates.
Yep. All platforms.
Even
that's the website as well.
That's beautiful, man. Listen, man, Chef Dro, man, it was great having you on the show.
Man, anytime, my brother.
This was a beautiful vibe. Listen, you had him kept it a whole buck the whole time. That was beautiful. I just want to thank all you guys for tuning in right here, Stories to Create podcast, right here at Yas Club. Until our next episode where we have another decorative guest to bring us back to the early years and tell that tale. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Well, there you have it. The host came, the guest came, and the story was created. Thank you to our sponsors, EHAS Inc., Karis Capital, and the Cornell Bunting LLC brand. go check out the books, courses, and materials at www.cornellbunting.com. Thank you again for listening to the show. Check back again to hear another tale from another unique guest right here at EHAS Club.